Good morning. You are listening to Florida Commercial Real Estate Radio. I am your host, Doug Dennison, and we are broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida, the nation's oldest city at WFOY 1240 AM studios. I will have a co-host, Jerry Anderson, who's a CCIM from Sperry Van Ness Commercial Real Estate Advisors in Palm Beach County, will be calling in and helping me out today. Through the power of the internet, this program is being streamed worldwide on 1240news.com. The show will also be archived on svn.com, as Sperry Van Ness Commercial Real Estate Advisors are the sponsors of this program. Additionally, this show will be posted on youtube.com. We are going to be talking about commercial real estate, different commercial real estate markets across the state of Florida. We've got a lot of topics today, and let's go to our first caller. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Doug. Jerry Anderson.
Well, thank you so much. I just introduced you as my co-host, and I'm thrilled to be part of this new show, Jerry. And again, let's talk about Sperry Van Ness, first of all. Tell us about Sperry Van Ness, and also what is your background, sir?
Well, I appreciate being part of the Florida Commercial Real Estate Show. Yes, Sperry Van Ness, Florida is a sponsor, and we have commercial real estate offices all over the state, Doug, and all the way up there to the Emerald Coast of Fort Walton Beach, to all the way down the East Coast of Miami, and all the way back up to Tampa. So Sperry Van Ness, national commercial real estate firm, always ranked in the top 10 when people talk about commercial real estate firms. We provide services in terms of investment sales and leasing, and we have about 100 what we call advisors. We really believe our folks to be advisors versus agents around the state. And
well,
I've invited a couple of them to join us later today.
Jerry, I've got our first caller on, so let's get him on.
Sure.
Miguel, are you on the line here? Okay, great. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you well.
Perfect. And Jerry, you're on the line too, right?
I am on the line. I cannot hear Miguel, so he may need to speak up.
Okay. Miguel, speak up. And again, Miguel, you're the managing director, Sperry Van Ness in Lake Mary, Florida. It's great to have you on the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Miguel, and your background, and again, what you do. What's your specialty?
Well, I've been in the commercial real estate brokerage business for about 10 years now.
Okay.
I started out in sales prior to that, but fell in love with real estate in general, commercial pretty much out of the gate, which I guess is a good thing. Kind of hard to make the transition. But we came into the market, 10 years ago. It was, I wouldn't say it was soft, but it wasn't the boom. Right. We saw the highest of the highs and the lowest of the lows back in 2000. And we've, as far as specialty, I've made it a point to become a local market expert, a go-to guy, if you will. We get a lot of calls from locals as well as brokers as to what we know is going on in the market. And in turn, when the market took a downturn, I took the advice of Sperry Van Ness Corporate. We started investigating distressed assets before there was a big bloom of distressed assets. We started going in and talking to banks, and we struck out a lot at the beginning. But by 2010, the floodgates opened, and we had a lot of bank and distressed asset activity, and that's, I guess you would say, what I am specializing in for the last 3 years and been fairly successful at it recently is the distressed asset markets.
Excellent. Well, I've heard that you are number 1 in the state of Florida, and that's just wonderful, and number 9 for Sperry Van Ness nationally. That's great. What's helped you helping your clients? I know Sperry Van Ness is a little different from other commercial real estate firms. They really go out to the local brokers and get them involved. But, in your words, why has Sperry Van Ness been a key in your success?
Sperry Van Ness is fantastic because it doesn't get in the way of the local broker on the local level.
Got it.
There are a lot of clients who need local expertise and advice, but they need to know that their broker has those world-class tools and technology to get the job actually done. We're not compartmentalized. We're not forced to do certain things a certain way, which gives the brokers who've really created the market in their hometown, gives them the freedom to go out and do what they need to do and rely on the advice and the camaraderie and the culture of Sperry Van Ness nationally.
Well, Jerry, if you're on the line, why don't you jump in and ask Miguel some questions here?
Well, he is very humble, Doug, because, yes, Miguel is a young guy. He does a terrific job for his clients, and his clients are very loyal. And the reason he was number one in the state, I don't want to brag on that as much as I want to brag on the services that he brings to his clients. And he's done a number of larger transactions and yet smaller transactions as well. Miguel, your clients really have a lot of confidence in you. They trust you. They like you. You make them money. Tell us what their perception of the market is right now, and then drift into your perception of the market. In other words, you're hearing it on the street, but how do you synthesize all that for our listeners and help them understand what's going on in one of the three major counties of the Orlando metro market?
Well, the first thing is when somebody hears you're in commercial real estate, they immediately assume barometer for. We get asked to be the barometer for the economy a lot.
Okay.
And what we're seeing is the old adage that there's a buyer at the right price is starting to come true. For years, we dealt with sellers that did not have the ability to discount their properties to a level that buyers could buy. We were dealing with buyers that couldn't get financing or didn't have the cash to buy. But we're starting to see a stabilization in prices. Yes, prices are lower, but that's also triggering velocity and activity in the marketplace. So, I'm not seeing views going back up through the roof today, but I'm seeing a lot of settling, a lot of short sales happening, a lot of discounts taken to actually start to move properties. So we're starting to move a lot of assets, which is the first step, in my opinion, to a recovery. If there's no deals taking place at any price point, there's never going to be a recovery.
I think what Miguel was saying there, Doug, is true. That gap, we often refer to it as the gap between the ask and the bid, the realistic expectations of the sellers, has historically meaning the last couple of years, been pretty far outreaching in terms of what the buyers were willing to pay. At the end of the show today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the different product verticals, retail versus office, and there's some interesting things happening in those different markets.
Tell us your name and exactly where you're from and what part of Florida you're from, Miguel.
Sure. Arcos. I am the managing director of the Lake Mary, Florida office. Lake Mary is basically just a suburb of the Metro Orlando market. So our sandbox is Central Florida, Orlando. The general metro area. We do deals around the state through our SBN partners, but that's where we're at. We're basically the Orlando market.
Very good. And, you were starting to talk about the different markets and everything. How has financing changed in the last few years? Is it getting better? Is it helping? Where are we as far as commercial real estate financing?
Well, financing, literally up to about 30 days ago has been a little bit trickier. It's just starting to creep back out. We're finally starting to see the CMBS lenders come out and start to aggressively go after deals. But more importantly, not every deal is a CMBS qualified deal. The local banks are finally starting to step back out onto a limb and say, okay, we want to finance these deals. And not only do we want to finance them, we want to be a little bit more aggressive on our terms. Some of our local banks, they may have a $5 to $10 million lending limit, but they're offering, 3.75% interest rates, not only on user properties, but also on some strong, well-qualified investment properties, with obviously a strong sponsor as well. But those rates are fantastic. They're not going to last forever. We're going to start to see interest rates going back up, and I think that'll slow down the buying cycle a little bit. So get in while you can.
Is it a good time to buy right now, Miguel?
It's the only better time to buy. And if you had right now, it's a great time to buy because you can start to predict the upturn in values. Before it was, if you bought something, it was a crapshoot as whether or not you're going to get a return or whether the tenants are going to stabilize themselves. Is it going to be risky? So the risk is starting to slowly erode from the market, and you can project some upside, and you have historically low rates, and banks are getting aggressive again. There's not a better scenario to get out and start buying.
Excellent. Hey, Jerry, you're kind of tell us your responsibilities as far as the state of Florida for Sperry Van Ness, and then, you know, Miguel is very humble, as you say. Kind of talk about what his attributes are and his skills that make him number one in Florida, if you would.
Be happy to, and I think that my comments will relate to any commercial real estate practitioner, and certainly as a client, seller, buyer, tenant, landlord. Those are some of the attributes that you're going to want to look for. Overall, my responsibility for the state of Florida, as I mentioned, we have offices throughout the state, from north to south, east to west, and my responsibility is, for a lack of a better word, Doug, is sort of the master licensee. Sperry Van Ness is a platform where we are licensed by the Sperry Van Ness corporate, Sperry Van Ness International Corporation, to use their tools, their resources, their platform for our locally owned and operated offices. So I own the state of Florida, for lack of a better word, same model that many retailers use. A lot of fast foods use that. And then we have our individual offices around the state, Miguel de Arcos being one of our individual offices over there in the Seminole County area. So it's a very tight group, very tight company, not unlike many of our competitors. NAI is a good competitor. Colliers is a good competitor. They're structured exactly the same way. CBRE is corporately owned. Marcus and Millichap, corporately owned. Cushman Wakefield, all good competitors, but they're corporately owned. So I think you have the platforms like Sperry Van Ness that are a little more agile, certainly much more entrepreneurial, and it just depends on what works for the individual advisor as they work with their clients. But some of the attributes that an advisor like Miguel has, I always say people trust Miguel. He is in the business on a daily basis, and he works hard for his clients, and you should be looking for an agent that does that. He's very loyal. His clients are loyal to him. And what I see in a guy like Miguel, who is number one in the state of Florida, as I mentioned, for 2012 and ranked in the top 10 for Sperry Van Ness nationally, which, by the way, is no small feat.
No, absolutely.
Because we have offices, Sperry Van Ness has offices in all the major cities. So when a guy in Seminole County can rank in the top 10 competing with people from San Francisco, New York, Dallas, Chicago, it says something. But he does, and I hate to use the locker room term, but he does deals over and over again.
Miguel, I'm gonna say something because Jerry kind of hit on it. You do a lot of business with repeat buyers, it sounds like, which is all about relationships and staying in touch and making sure that you know what your clients like. Are relations a big thing in your business?
You know, when people ask me to quote, a quote that sums up my business, and it always comes down to building relationships, period. I mean, that is the heart and soul of my success. I live, I work, I play in my local neighborhood.
Right.
And we associate and we take care of folks that we know are connectors in the market. We get involved. We do the leadership program. We do a lot of charitable foundations, board of directors, stuff like that, to associate with the folks and become a resource for them. And you provide enough resources, people come back to you. So, yes, I have a lot of repeat business, but those repeat business folks send a lot of referrals your way, and there's really nothing better than a very, very long-time client giving a strong recommendation to a new client. The business is pretty much yours. So that's been a huge key to my success. I'm not a cold caller. I don't pound the phones. I work with clients, new and old, and a lot of them come to us based on both our marketing activities, our properties in the market, but that referral based through relationship building and being a leader in the community is really the secret sauce.
Well, yeah, that's wonderful. And you talked a little bit about the community, and I'm looking at your bio right now, and you are a strong believer in the community. Tell us some of the things you're involved in, and don't leave out the fact that you're helping in Little League with your sons.
family first,
Yep.
work third. Let me put church first, God first, family, health. So yes, I do get involved. I sit on 2 or 3 nonprofit boards. I created a corporate 5K race. We have about 1,200 people, and that's been fantastic. Not only is it a phenomenal fundraiser, we raised about $25,000.
Whoa.
Homeless shelter, but I designed it. We have a Seminole County with about 4 million square feet of Class A office. So I said, well, how can we do a charity event to touch these? Because guess what? It also happens to be my business demographic. So we created a race. We go right down that business main street, that business parkway, and we get about 1,000 plus or minus employees and business owners and community leaders to come out and get to yell at everybody on the bullhorn for hours. So it's great exposure. But, you know, my family comes first. Yes, I have 3 books. I coach both their Little League teams. So it is a task. Some days I got to go racing out of the office to practice or a game. But, you know, there's something to it. I would say we've had our best year was 2012 since pre-disaster in 2009. Sure. And I can honestly say I spent less time in the office last year because the health aspect, we do a lot of endurance races and training. And, you know, as I mentioned, you know, I haven't been to the office yet because we've been out lake swimming this morning getting ready for our next race. So it's all a state of mind. You can get everything done in the allotted time you have if you plan well. And if you have the right technology, an iPad and a cell phone goes a long way.
I got it. Jerry, I know that he's very busy and is going to get out there. We want to make sure that we get all his contact information for our listeners. But is there anything else that you might want to say to Miguel?
No, I appreciate you taking the time to be with us this morning, Miguel. We'll put your contact information on the screen. And as you say, go sell something.
No, Jerry, just in case, let me ask Miguel, how do we get in touch with you right now if there's a listener who wants to talk to you?
Well, site for us, svnflorida.com. All of my contact information as well as my counterparts in the various markets are on there.
Okay.
At the same time, you can reach me at my cell phone number, which is 407-257-7334.
Very good. Hey, thank you so much, Miguel, for being on our first show. Done a great job. You're our first guest, along with the co-host, Jerry Anderson. Again, I appreciate the fact that you're a leader in not only commercial real estate, but also the community. That's dear to my heart. So thank you for being on, and good luck in the future, Miguel.
Bye-bye.
All right, Jerry. Wow, he's a sharp guy and number 1 in the state of Florida. Wow.
Yeah, he's had a good year. He's got a number of projects that he works on, and he's having a great year already in 2013. He's one of those folks that you're proud of, and you like to be able to hitch your wagon to that star, young rising star within Central Florida, and we're proud to have him as part of Sperry Van Ness.
Well, he touched on that he's very involved with distressed real estate assets, and we've got about 2 minutes before we take a break. But do you want to say anything about that? Because I know you're involved in an auction right now.
We are, and it's not just for distressed assets, but I was proud to be invited to be an event chairman of a national auction event, auctionpoint.com, auctionpoint.com. And it's a major event. We had submitted from over 100 different brokerage companies, and about $1 billion worth of product. And
wow.
after in the second half of the show, towards the end, I'll bring up some other statistics. But yes, there are some distressed assets in that event, auctionpoint.com, and those assets are brought to that event by people like Miguel for their clients who are motivated to sell with a date certain. And it's a pretty exciting event. And like I said, I was very proud to be invited to be the event chairman with a number of other folks. Cushman Wakefield's on that event committee, Grubb and Ellis folks, Lee and Associates, Shandon Economics, First American Title. So it's quite the event.
Very good. And when is that event taking place, sir?
The actual bidding for auctionpoint.com starts at the end of May. So
Okay.
those will be 4-hour time slots.
Okay. And again, Sperry Van Ness is involved with, along with other real estate companies, which is kind of a first to be kind of marrying everybody's attributes and skills into something for a success. So kudos to you to put that all together. That's not an easy job for sure. We're going to go to a break, Jerry, and again, this is the Florida Commercial Real Estate Radio Show, sponsored by Sperry Van Ness, Florida, and Jerry Anderson, who's a CCIM for Sperry Van Ness out of Palm Beach County, Florida, is my co-host and doing a fine job. Again, we're going to go for a break, but we'll be right back. We've got other guests. We want to hear more about that auction. We want to hear more about Sperry Van Ness. Let's go for a break. All right, we are back. You are listening to Florida Commercial Real Estate Radio Show. I am your host, Doug Dennison. We also have on the line our co-host, Jerry Anderson, a CCIM from Sperry Van Ness. We've got another caller on the line. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Ashley Bloom.
Hey, Ashley. Thank you so much for calling in. And Ashley, talk to me. Where are you from? You're from Sperry Van Ness. You're the senior advisor. Give us some information about you and also Sperry Van Ness.
I currently office in the Sarasota, Florida branch office of Sperry Van Ness, Florida. Spent most of my life in South Florida, and then the last 8 years in the Sarasota area. I've been with Sperry Van Ness since 2009, and have really benefited from all the tools and platforms that Sperry Van Ness provides, being a national platform and being able to provide it to a local tertiary market like Sarasota and the greater area around it.
Very good. And how did you get into commercial real estate, Ashley?
I actually, originally, I was worked for Coopers and Lybrand, Price Waterhouse Coopers, but my dad had been in real estate all his life, so about 15 or 16 years ago, started working with him and some of the relationships that he had built over time, utilizing my accounting skills back then to get into real estate.
Nice, nice. And you're in the Sarasota area, and you've been very active with Sperry Van Ness. I'm hoping that I can get Jerry on the line. Jerry, are you with us?
Hey, Doug, Jerry.
You tell me a little bit about Ashley, because he is part of Florida and doing a great job.
Yes, Ashley's over in Sarasota area, the Manatee County area. Accountant by training. You're going to find it interesting. He's certainly a numbers guy. He's been in the real estate market for a while. His father came out of the real estate market. He loves real estate. He's been a developer in his career, and does a terrific job for clients over there in the Manatee and Sarasota County. Actually, does a lot of work throughout the state. So.
Very, very good. And while we have a little lull here, let's talk just a little bit about that Sperry Van Ness involvement in this auction point auction, which seems to be like a major coup for getting everybody together to have a successful auction.
It's rather revolutionary. It's I call it the epitome of collaboration. People were surprised. We started to gather assets for the event. The event is actually when the bidding starts, which is towards the end of May. We started to gather assets for the event in February, and it went through March 15th, and we solicited all of the brokers in the industry, including fierce competitors, if you will. Not only just the top 10 companies that compete with each other, but the local independents. And we said, bring your assets for your clients to this event. And, some of them look at it squinted eye and say, wait a minute, why do I want to be in an event where all my competitors have their assets as well? Well, the reason is that there are going to be a lot of buyers looking at the assets, and one thing led to another, Doug. We put together an event committee made up of brokers from a number of companies, including First American Title, not just brokerage company, but also Shandon Economics. And away we went. And that collaboration has really, penetrated the industry, and now it's auctionpoint.com. You can go in there today and see about $400 million worth of product brought to this event by many different brokerage companies.
Well, excellent. And give us those dates again, if you would, because I want to make sure that people who might be interested as buyers get a chance to find out about the properties and all that procedure.
Yes. The event website is auctionpoint.com, auctionpoint.com, and the event bidding starts on May 29th. There'll be a couple of days where the event bidding takes place, and they're going 4-hour time slots, so you have a chance to bid on many different properties as a buyer. So May 29th, May 30th, May 31, the bidding will take place. Much like I went to the Barrett-Jackson automobile auction yesterday here in Palm Beach, and yesterday's bidding was the cars that they said were going to be sold on Thursday. Well, auctionpoint.com, same way. There's going to be properties sold during certain time slots on certain days, May 29, May 30, May 31. It's just a matter of which asset you're interested in.
Very, very good. Let's go back and talk about Sperry Van Ness. You're basically involved with Florida, or in charge of the Florida people, and you've got a lot of different locations, and I'm going to take the time right now to actually tell the people where they are from. It looks like Fort Walton Beach, Panama City, Tallahassee, Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Ocala, Lake Mary, Winter Park, Orlando, New Smyrna Beach, Melbourne, Jupiter, West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, Naples, Fort Myers, Sarasota, St. Petersburg, and Tampa. You've got everybody that seems to be covering the entire state. So nice job. Tell us how many different associates that do you have in this Florida market?
We have about 100, and I believe 104 is the number, Doug, that we have throughout the state. And, you rattled off a number of cities. It sounded like you went from the northwest all the way down to the southeast and the southwest. Florida's a large state.
It really is.
I'm a big reader of, and I like Florida Trend magazine. And if you read that magazine, you see how they break the state up. But the state's very different from Jacksonville to Miami to Fort Walton Beach, and we have a phrase, and I think as a tenant or a landlord or a buyer or a seller of real estate, commercial real estate, you need to put this one in the back of your mind and remember this. Real estate's local. It always has been. It's always going to be, and you need local expertise. So that footprint that you just rattled off is very important.
Well, I think we've got Ashley back on the line. Ashley, are you still with us?
I am here.
Okay, thank you. But, again, talk to us about your different marketplace. What's happening, and where do you see the future as far as this year and beyond?
Yeah, the Gulf Coast of Florida, which is really my primary market, Tampa to Naples, the area we do a lot of business in, is seeing the recovery residentially. The market is back below 6 months inventory, which is a good sign, and we've seen commercial now follow that right back up. We're seeing more activity in our market. We're seeing more buyers. We're seeing the national home builders start to acquire land. We're seeing people that were making do with what space they had to do, now looking to expand, thinking that rates are going to go up. So even if they don't necessarily need all the space right now, they're planning for the future. There's just a general upbeat, I would say, on the whole west coast of Florida.
Nice. Jerry, do you want to ask him any specific questions? Because I know you talked earlier about Ashley and how great he's doing in his marketplace.
Well, Ashley does a lot of work with and has experience developing land. And, actually I know a couple of the assets you've been working on, you were really sharing with some of the owners, and I was sort of eavesdropping on those, the changes that you're seeing with home builders coming back into the market. That southwest part of Florida really got hit hard with the, lots that didn't get sold and the extra inventory that sat and sat. I mean, it made national news. Share with us what you think is happening now in regards to that inventory and the unfinished lots.
Good question, Jerry. We're actually seeing velocity that we haven't seen since probably 2005. The home builders are constantly reporting record results. We were with one yesterday, as a matter of fact, who sold in March 11 out of 153 lots that they took down. We're seeing not only the national but the regional and local home builders start to acquire inventory. Traditionally, in the last couple of years, you've seen them try to take down finished lots. All of those good ones seem to have been absorbed, so now they're getting into site plan approved lots, even lots that don't have a site plan that have zoning. So you're seeing them get the inventory in their pipeline so that they can deliver new homes because the demand is there.
Are the folks that are not entitled yet going to be able to, the home builders that have entitled land, are they going to be able to get entitlements fast enough to catch up with some of the nationals that are holding these lots that are ready to go?
We're seeing site plan approvals and that process go a lot faster than we did several years ago. Where it would take 18 months just because they were so busy when every guy who owned a piece of property was trying to entitle it. We're seeing that time frame shrink down to about 9 to 12 months, and in some cases even faster. So I do think that if you have a parcel of land and you want to go through that process, I think it certainly is a smoother process than it was, say, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, the national press picked up on Lehigh Acres down there in Fort Myers, of course, and they couldn't have been more brutal to the Fort Myers, to Lee County and even down into Collier County and Sarasota County, Manatee County as well. And I don't know specifically what's going on in Lehigh Acres or even that Fort Myers market. Do you have any insight?
I do. They're showing recovery. I just read a report last night that the Tampa to Naples market is seeing about a 10% year over year in improvement, and the Lehigh Acres market, as well as the Fort Myers market, is seeing new construction. They're seeing the price increases. They're seeing permitting go up. They're seeing everything that a recovery would show, and this whole coast is exceeding what the national averages are. So I would say, that coast and Lehigh Acres and Fort Myers specifically, while hit so hard because of the amount of supply that was delivered to the market, is seeing the absorption and the recovery.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I was over on the west coast of Florida yesterday and or the day before, and the amount of tourists that I saw, the number of license plates from out of state and out of the country was phenomenal. I mean, restaurants were packed. Now, I know we're at the end of the spring break season, but tourism appears to really be moving strong. Would you agree?
Yeah, a few years back, Siesta Key Beach was rated the #1 beach in the United States, and that has been a significant draw to tourists. The reports are that is as much as 40% increase in our tourism. People want to go see the #1 beach. We have spring training on this coast, which is a big draw, and from all the reports that are out, this has been a record tourist season, which is very important to our economy on this whole coast.
Definitely, and of course that all trickles down to retail, which in the closing minutes today, Doug, I'll sort of do a little brief overview of the entire state, and you're going to hear me talk about how retail is so tied to tourism.
Well, I've been listening to both of you, and it seems like Florida and California, I mean, those two states, they are always kind of the leaders in good and bad. In other words, they go up and then they go drop way down. And so we're kind of like on a roller coaster ride, and it looks like we're going back up again. But why is it that California and Florida are kind of like the leaders, and maybe that's why we have so many investors, and of course that's good for commercial real estate?
It's a four-letter word. First of all, we have ports.
Ah.
Actually, I'll give you a chance to comment on that, and then I have my thoughts as well. But
I think the answer, is that, we are seeing a lot of the baby boomers vacation, semi-retire, and retire to our area. And if you look at the numbers, there's millions and millions of baby boomers that are going to Florida, California, Arizona as well. So I think the expectation of future demand with all those millions of people starting to migrate our way certainly leads to the speculation, which fueled our boom, and when it didn't occur, it fueled our bust. So I think that's a big component as to why Florida and California seem to go through the cycles earlier, come in earlier and come out earlier.
Jerry, what do you think?
Yeah. I think there's some interesting things going on. Number one, we are an inbound migration state, and of course, when things were slow, we dropped down to where we had a zero gain, which was unheard of for Florida, a state that typically over the years has peaked as high as 1,000 people, new people moving into the state per day, 365 to 400,000 people per year moving into the state. We dropped way down. Last year, 2012, we hovered around the 250,000 inbound residents. We also have the movement and the money coming from South America, so don't forget about that. And we are a no personal income tax state, which right now is hurting California because, Stockton, California is in bankruptcy.
Yep.
And they're going to be taxing their citizens more and more. So I think we're in a good place. Ashley, I think you're in a great place over there on the west coast of Florida, Sarasota, Manatee County, on down through Naples. It's a great place to be. It's a great place to own real estate. And if you do own real estate, it's a great place to own it, to sell it. So,
Ashley, I've talked about this before, but I think it's just so key. It seems like successful people like you have great people skills, and not only that, but communication skills, and maintain relationships. So it's not just one sale and you're done, but you get many sales and many referrals. Is that something that you've kind of done in your past?
Absolutely. I think it's very important to have good relationships, keep the communication and the information back and forth to those relationships. Try to do the right thing, or do the right thing as you can,
sure.
And people will come back. I have relationships that go back 30 and 35 years. I have referrals from architects and engineers that I worked with 10 and 15 years ago that will refer me people and say, he'll do the right thing. He'll look at the property like he owns it himself. He'll do due diligence like he's buying it himself. And I think doing those things not only keeps the clients happy, but it keeps those clients referring other people to you.
Well, good job. Before we ask you for contact information, and again, I appreciate you being on the show, Jerry, do you have anything else that you'd want to talk about Ashley, or give him a question?
Well, I know Ashley has, we had talked earlier when we were waiting on Ashley to get back on the line about the auctionpoint.com event. Ashley's representing a number of banks. And how many assets in the auctionpoint.com event, Ashley?
12.
12 assets.
Nice.
So that proves to you, Doug, and all of our listeners, the kind of loyalty that Ashley has with his clients.
For sure.
Enough trust in him to get those assets sold.
That's nice. Ashley, how do people get a hold of you at Sperry Van Ness, and email and a phone number, please?
The email is ashley.bloom, ASHLEY.BLOOM @svn.com, and the phone number is 941-961-6666.
941-961-7109.
Give us that phone number one more time.
941-961-7109.
Ashley, thank you so much for being on this first show. You did a great job. I appreciate it, and good luck. And I look forward to having you on the show another time.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Have a great weekend. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, Jerry, two strong guests. Very good. Miguel and Ashley, great people, and they're obviously very, very successful. Tell us about what your thinking is for this coming year. Where do you think the different markets are going?
Well, again, to our listeners, you really have to look at Florida as multiple markets.
Okay.
It's not the same in Miami, which is, by the way, off the chart strong right now.
Yes.
It's not the same in Miami as it is in Tallahassee. So apartments are looking very, very strong for the balance of the year. We're seeing big increases in rents, and, of course, part of that's because of the housing. People are living in apartments, but, and this is my asterisk here on the apartments,
okay.
There's a lot of new inventory coming online. As that inventory comes online, rental growth, in other words, the people that if you own it, you want to continue to raise the rents, it may be slowed a little bit. So,
okay.
Office, you heard this morning on the newscast, just in between our show break here, that the job report came out. The stock market went down this morning here on Friday, April 5th. So we got the job report wasn't 200,000 jobs, new jobs like it had been. We only had 88,000 jobs added last month. Job growth drives office. So that's a sector right now that's going to be sluggish on the office side, not nearly as strong as apartments. Retail, we talked a little bit. My soundbite on that would be for Florida, tourism. Tourism drives retail,
Mm-hmm.
and spending has been up. So that's been a good thing for folks that own or are trying to buy retail centers. And you heard Miguel talk about the fact that financing was now available, so it's a different ballgame. Hotel rates are back up. I think anybody that pays attention to the Orlando market knows that especially the limited service hotels. And we just sold a hotel in Jupiter. It was really interesting. Hadn't been on the market in 40 years, and just a small independent hotel. And we sold it for just under $90,000 per key, as they refer to it in the hotel business.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the markets are pretty strong. The ports are going to add quite a bit to the economy of Florida. Our financing is coming back. So, if you cornered me and said, how's the market in Florida, Jerry, I'd say it's pretty bullish. We're excited. 2013 is going to be a great year for those folks that are trying to buy, because you still can buy real estate for much less than what it costs to build it. So as long as that gap is together or is starting to come together, as long as you buy today, sooner better than later, and if inflation hits, it's always terrific to be in a hard asset like commercial real estate.
Hey, this has been a great first show. You've been a wonderful co-host. How can people get a hold of you and find out about all these different Florida associates and advisors that you have?
The very best way is to go to SVN, that's Sierra Victor November, SVNFlorida.com. We have blogs, we have videos, you have direct contact to links to all the listings of all of our advisors throughout the state. And again, we're from Fort Walton Beach. Our footprint goes from Fort Walton Beach all the way down to Miami and Naples. So we've got you covered. And as I said earlier, real estate's local. Always has been, always will be.
Well, Jerry, thank you so much for really putting this whole show together. I'm thrilled to be part of it. And again, Sperry Van Ness, SVNFlorida.com is where to go to seek out any information on these properties and the associates. And again, for this auction coming up, where do they go, Jerry?
Very easy. The web makes life easy for all of us. AuctionPoint.com. AuctionPoint.com, and instantaneously at your fingertips, you're going to see $300 to $400 million worth of quality assets owned by motivated sellers ready to accept your bid towards the end of May 29, 30, and 31.
Very good. Jerry, thank you so much for being on the show. We look forward to doing the show next week.
Very good, sir. Good day.
Thank you. All right. That was Jerry Anderson, who was the co-host with me today. We also had Miguel de Arcos, who is the managing director of Sperry Van Ness in the Lake Mary, Florida area, which is the Orlando market. And we also had Ashley Bloom, who's the senior advisor for Sperry Van Ness in the Sarasota market. Good stuff. We learned a lot. Again, Sperry Van Ness, major player in the commercial real estate field. In regards to Florida, go to the website, www.svnflorida.com. That's www.svnflorida.com. And again, I thank all of the guests. I appreciate it. We'll see you back here next week. And again, this is the Florida Commercial Real Estate Radio Show. I'm your host, Doug Dennison. We're broadcasting from beautiful St. Augustine, Florida at WFOY. See you next week.